church? What do you go to church for? What do you get out of it? And what about all these refugees who are joining up and becoming Christian to stop themselves being deported? So 40 men on the Bibi Stockholm have converted to Christianity to strengthen their chances of staying in the UK.
Well, it comes in the same week that a silent disco was held at Canterbury Cathedral, a move that's been slammed by many in the church as inappropriate.
So is that sacrilege? What do you think about that? So the church is facing backlashes like that. We are asking if it's lost its way, if that's what it's supposed to be about. To discuss this, we've got the author James Woundhuysen and columnist at the Catholic Universe, Caroline Farrow. Caroline, what do you think?
Well, I think it's a very sad day when we hear of 40 people who are attending a church service and are saying this is a terrible thing. They must only be doing this for asylum, and we are treating them with suspicion. I mean, Christianity, when you talk about the purpose of the church is to evangelize, to draw people into a much closer relationship with Jesus Christ. So I think we have to be quite careful about scapegoating Christian churches when we hear of people converting. And I think there's been a lot of discussion recently, but specifically about immigration, about how Christians, or people are sort of faking a conversion to Christianity in order to get asylum. And I think actually, rather than looking at Christianity as a particular scapegoat for that, we need to be asking questions of the state authorities, of the Home Office, who have put down religion as a category which makes somebody eligible to convert, but don't seem to have the religious literacy or the investigative or the desire to sort of investigate fully. What does it mean when somebody says they've converted to Christianity? Are they attending regular scripture classes? Are they actually, importantly and crucially, going to church or going to mass in the Catholic Church after they've undergone baptism? It shouldn't just be a case of dip and stamp. So the onus needs to be more, I think, on the Home Office and on the state authorities. Okay. But I don't think Christianity should be apologising.
Caroline, say the Home Office listen to you and they say, Caroline, you're absolutely right. This shouldn't be a criteria as to whether you are given British citizenship or not. And then, Caroline, the numbers fall off. The people looking to convert declines drastically. Would you not rather have them in the gang, in the club, than lose them altogether?
Basically, we want people in the church who want to be in the church and have a genuine desire. So it's not simply about bums on seats per se. It's about having genuine converts, or genuine worshippers among us. And also, I need to make the point that Christianity is not the only faith that has a tradition of hospitality, of welcoming the stranger, of seeing the innate human dignity and worth of everyone. Judaism also has a similar culture. That's why we talk about our Judeo-Christian roots. It's not just words. It's that, these two cultures, we do have, this sense of welcoming the stranger. And it would be, terrible if that were lost. But I think the caveat I would say to that is, although asylum is very much a sort of Judeo-Christian concept, actually asylum does come with a caveat, with an acceptance that whoever is coming to be among us takes on the culture of the hosts, so it isn't just. And I think the wider problem that we have in the UK at the moment is that we are welcoming in so many people that we don't have the infrastructure to cope with. And also there's a sort of gulf between their belief system
Caroline,
and ours.
you would make a brilliant preacher. James is sitting there. He's just waiting to get a word in. So you've heard her sermon, James. What would you say in response?
Well, I think one must distinguish between Christians, who I generally like, and Christ, although I'm an atheist, and the church. I'm not sure it's fair to say the church ever had found its way, and it's certainly lost it now. It's not scapegoating the church to say that it does seem to have worked with lawyers and the Home Office to allow individuals like Abdul Azadi, who was responsible for that acid attack, into the country. This isn't scapegoating. This is pure realism. And may I remind Caroline that, you know, Jesus was not against scapegoating the moneylenders and people who were clearly evil, like Abdul Azadi clearly was. Now, I'm amazed that she says in her efforts to, Caroline, you want to shrug off responsibility of the church for what it's done and say, well, look, the Home Office should do everything. Of course, it's the Home Office's legal duty. But are you seriously suggesting that it should scrutinize immigrants after they've passed their test? Are you really favoring that amount of surveillance once they've done that? And it just really won't do to say that, you know, any criticism of the church's policy is unfair. This is a church that supported Paula Vanel's, who's implicated in the Horizon scandal, that has had a long history of different kinds of abuse, that very rarely stands up for the Christians who are scapegoated. She's right about that, around the world in places like India, Iraq, and elsewhere. And, you know, I think its record is pretty abysmal, and its willingness to use 25 bishops.
Let's get a response now from Caroline. James.
Well, I think, I mean, first and foremost, I think you're talking more about the Church of England than sort of Christianity as a whole. And I think perhaps there certainly is a school of thought that the Church of England has lost its way. But certainly in, you know, other Christian traditions like Catholicism, like in baptism, we have, you know, a more kind of robust procedure, for want of a better word. We don't just say to somebody, oh, turn up, be baptized. I think you might be right, James, in that there is a problem with political activists, clerics, okay? But you know, activist clerics are not necessarily the fault of the entire institution. And when you talk about the suspect involved in the acid attack, you know, this is a guy who had, you know, a history of sex attacks. You know, he certainly had at least one sex attack on women. And there are lots of wider safeguarding questions to be asked here about what contact did he have with authorities. I still maintain that actually if the Home Office wants to factor in Christianity or religious conversion as to whether or not they grant someone asylum, then they need more robust and rigorous procedure, whether that's offering somebody, you know, a temporary visa or temporary asylum and then coming back to that, you know, specific church a few years later and saying, now, have you actually seen this person since they were baptized? How involved are they in the life of the church? You know, I mean, I take on board what you're saying about Paula Vanel's and the Horizon scandal. Yeah, that's quite wrong. What happened there. It's also, I condemn in strongest terms the silent discos at Canterbury Cathedral. You know,
really? Why?
What's wrong with that?
Why?
Wrong with that?
Because you know, Canterbury Cathedral, or any cathedral, is a sacred space. You know, this was the site of St. Thomas à Becket's martyrdom. That, you know, this is a place where we believe, you know, God is present, where we come to worship God. And in fact, what we're doing when we have a silent disco, it's all about worshiping ourselves.
Guys, got to leave it there. Thank you. That is the word of the Lord. Thank you both. And go forward in peace and love and everything else on this, the start of Lent. Thank you very much.